Hey, welcome into Morning Scone. Devastated yet again. I recorded an episode of Morning Scone and it cut off as I was trying to wrap up. So this is the second go around for yours truly on Morning Scone. Three things to talk about. Pels lose game 2, Saints sign another quarterback, and LSU got an update on their series against Arkansas this weekend with some personnel on both sides. So let's start with game 2, Pels Warriors. Pels lose 121 to 116. Steph Curry returned 28 points in 27 minutes. But all anybody wants to talk about are the fouls. Pels, 66 points in the paint in game 2, attempted 9 free throws. Warriors, 38 points in the paint, attempted 27 free throws. Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, two superstars for the Pels, combined for 0 free throw attempts. That's striking. I mean, there's no way to minimize those numbers. Star players should get calls, and for a guy like Anthony Davis who resides and takes up permanent residence almost in the paint to not get to the free throw line once, which hasn't happened this year, that's stunning and striking and something that is absolutely noteworthy, but it's not why New Orleans lost the game. I will never, ever blame an official or a referee or an umpire for a win or a loss. In this case, you had 48 minutes of basketball. Make more shots. Defend better. There's a lot of things that you can do to control the outcome of a game. People want to scapegoat officials. I'll never do it. To not get calls last night was disappointing, and the disparity in free throws absolutely contributed to the outcome, but you can't use that as an excuse. Be better. To their credit, I thought New Orleans played a really good game defensively. And you can look and say, hey, man, Golden State scored 121 points. Well, two things. Number one, Golden State's really stinking good. And number two, the Pelicans, if you watch the game, controlled the pace. They got out and ran. That's what they wanted to do. But Golden State was quite content to run as well. But what happened was in transition, New Orleans was able to get a whole bunch of easy baskets. And that's really the pace they want to play at. They just got beaten by a better team. So my hope is when Game 3 in New Orleans on Friday that the Pels start to get some of those calls and you see the free throw disparity even out. Referees, they're human. They're going to be influenced by crowds and by star players. And Golden State has star players and they had a home crowd and the championship banners and all that stuff. And I'm not going to say that it's not something legitimate, that there might not have been some type of unintentional bias worked in there. My hope is that when the shoe's on the other foot this weekend in New Orleans, that the Pels get some of those calls as well. But Golden State, they're just too good, man. I mean, when you have three top 20 players in the world with Curry, Durant, and then Klay Thompson, and then you have Draymond Green as well, and then you're looking at guys like Sean Livingston coming off the bench, and Andre Iguodala, who's a Finals MVP, and David West, who was a perennial all-star, and he's maybe your 8th guy on this team. They've got so much length and talent, and that's the rotation that's an issue. And look, I mean, look no further than how the Pels started the game. In Game 1, they started with Mirotic on Durant, and Durant was getting off in the first quarter, so they started Game 2 with Drew Holiday on Durant. I mean, Drew Holiday gives up 7 inches to Kevin Durant. It's going to be a mismatch no matter how good of a defender Drew is. And Drew made some plays, but that's one where Durant's going to win the matchup. And then when you can go to a guy like Curry who gives you 28 points in 27 minutes and they create offense around Steph Curry and run their offense through Steph Curry, it's just a difference maker. And the Pels don't have that. They need better perimeter shooting. They need more length on the perimeter. It's just a lot of things that Golden State has that New Orleans doesn't. And it's not a knock. It's just why Golden State is as good as they are. And I think everyone recognizes that at this point. I do think New Orleans gets one game at home. My pick was Golden State in 5, and I'll stick with that. A couple other things that I want to get to today. Saints have signed another quarterback, Brandon Silvers. If the name sounds familiar, it should. He was the quarterback at Troy that came into Tiger Stadium and beat LSU this past season. And listen, I understand there aren't. I don't have, I'm not delusional. I'm not expecting an undrafted free agent quarterback to come in and be the heir apparent to Drew Brees and be an awesome player. It's happened. Kurt Warner was an undrafted free agent. Jeff Garcia was an undrafted free agent. Warren Moon for different reasons. Tony Romo was an undrafted free agent. And you can find guys throughout history like John Kitna and Dave Craig, guys who were NFL starting quarterbacks for a lot of years that went undrafted. So it can happen. I wouldn't count on it, but I am interested to see Silver's work out with New Orleans, and primarily because he was a 4-year starter at Troy, started all from freshman year through senior year, and he threw for 10,000 yards. But maybe the most impressive thing that Silvers did is his interception percentage per pass attempt. If you look at in NFL history, the best percentage in NFL history is 1.6% of pass attempts were intercepted. Silvers in his college career was at 1.9%, which is amazing. It's ahead of guys like Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, some all-time great quarterbacks. He's very efficient with the football, so I'm curious to see Silvers in Sean Payton's offense to see if he can operate it efficiently, because that may very well be someone who has a chance to earn a spot on the practice squad behind, obviously, Brees and Tom Savage. So let's see how that works out. Taysom Hill is obviously an interesting test case to see what the Saints want to do with him, but Silvers could push for a spot on the practice squad, and I'll be interested to see that. One other quick note here, and I mentioned this is the second time I'm recording Morning Scone, so I'm trying to move quickly here. Arkansas and LSU this weekend. D1 baseball projections are out. They've got LSU out of regionals. Now, that shouldn't be a surprise. Their RPI's in the 50s. They came off another series loss a week after D1 baseball had LSU as a 3 seed on the road, I believe in Chapel Hill. But we've talked about it before. If you're LSU, just take care of your business. You've got 2 series remaining against RPI top 10 teams with Arkansas this weekend, and you're on the road at Auburn in the final weekend of the regular season. And you've got Alabama, which is a dreadful team. If you get to 15 conference wins, you're going to be in if you're 15-15. So if LSU can win 5 of their last 9 conference games and 3 against Alabama, it's very doable. Keep in mind this weekend, 2 Arkansas players, closer Matt Cronin and second baseman Carson Shaddy, their status is up in the air. Shaddy, that name should sound familiar, and he's a really good player. He's their second baseman. He bats in the middle of the lineup. He's got home run power. He bats like .330. So really good bat. He got hit on the hand both hands a couple of weeks ago and did not play last weekend against Alabama. And Dave Van Horn still hasn't updated his status. So that's significant if that bat isn't there in the middle of the lineup for Arkansas. And Cronin is their closer. He's a lefty who throws middle 90s. He's second in the SEC with 9 saves. And Arkansas had to kind of go sit, closer by committee this past weekend against Alabama. Now, they swept the series because Alabama's terrible, but they struggled a bit on the mound. Sunday in Game 3, just as a for instance, Arkansas pitching walked 15 Alabama hitters, and Arkansas still won the game. So it goes to show, number one, that Arkansas's got flaws, but also, number two, how bad Alabama is. And LSU gets 3 games next week at home against Alabama. So that will come at a great time for LSU. Should come at a great time for LSU. But this weekend against Arkansas, we'll keep an eye on those 2 guys. And no update on Josh Smith, except that Paul Manera says he does not expect Josh Smith to play this weekend. But that should not come as any surprise. At this point, if you get anything more of Josh Smith, I think that's probably lagniappe when dealing with the back injury like he has all year. So as we get closer to the weekend, we'll talk much more about the LSU-Arkansas series. Friday, Game 2 of the Pels and Warriors. As always, hit the subscribe button if you have not yet. Lots of good videos here, and thanks so much to everyone who's listened or watched and given feedback. A gentleman named Jose left a comment yesterday, said Morning Scone's been great, 10 to 12 minutes is perfect. He puts it on his Bluetooth as he's driving to work, so I appreciate that. However you watch, some of you have sent me pictures of Morning Scone on your TV. If you've got a smart TV or Roku or something like that, you pull up the YouTube app and put it on your TV. So however you watch, listen, I appreciate it. If you got ideas or things you want me to talk about, Mailbag has been a lot of fun. The whiskey reviews have been a lot of fun. So go to the Matt Moscone YouTube channel, hit playlist, and you can see all those videos listed right there. In the meantime, y'all have a great day. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you tomorrow from Morning Scone.